All right, today we're going to crack open a technical analysis report for Apple. Yep, one of the biggest companies on the planet. We're going to forget the news headlines for a second and just see what the actual numbers are trying to tell us. So the first number that just jumps right off the page is 97.45%. Now, on its own, okay, it's just a number, right? But in the world of stock analysis, a number like that, well, it's basically a flare going up, signaling something pretty dramatic is going on with Apple stock. So what does it mean? It means Apple's stock is trading at almost 98% of its highest price for the entire year. I mean, think about that. It is right up against its performance ceiling for the last 52 weeks. And that's a critical point for any company, which, immediately makes you ask a couple of big questions.
Like, how on earth did it get to this point? And maybe even more importantly, what is the underlying data really telling us about the strength of this journey? So let's play detective for a few minutes and use this report to piece together the story of Apple's recent 3-month sprint. Okay, so to really get why today's price matters so much, we've got to look back at the path it took to get here. This report breaks down in the last 63 trading days. That's roughly 3 months. And that's exactly where our story is going to start. And you can see it's been a heck of a climb. Just 3 months ago, the stock was hanging out around $230. Fast forward to late October and boom, it's already pushed past $260. And as of this report, it's sitting at $277.55. But honestly, just looking at the raw price, that only tells part of the story. To really understand what's going on, you have to filter out all the daily up and down noise and find the real underlying trend. And yeah, analysts have a specific tool for that. It's kind of our first big clue to figuring out which way the current is actually flowing. That tool is called the moving average. And the absolute best way to think about it is like the tide at the beach. The daily price changes, those are like the little waves crashing on the shore, right? But the moving average, that shows you if the tide is actually coming in or going out. It just smooths everything out to show you the real direction. And here is where you can see that tide in action. The current price, that $277.55, is well above the average of the last 20 days. And both of those numbers are sitting way higher than the 200-day average. When you see them stacked up like that, well, that is a textbook sign of a really strong, sustained uptrend. Okay, so the trend is strong. Check. But what about the force behind this climb? Is this a slow, gentle rise, or is it a powerful surge? For that, we need to measure its momentum. And for this, analysts turn to an indicator called the Relative Strength Index, or just RSI for short. So if the moving average is the tide, you can think of the RSI as the stock's speedometer. It tells us how fast and how hard the price has been moving lately. And let me tell you, Apple's speedometer is reading high. The report shows its 14-day RSI is at 66.83. Now, the magic number here is 70. Anything above that is considered overbought, which is really just a technical way of saying the stock has moved up very, very quickly. Apple is pushing right up against that limit, and that tells us there is some powerful momentum behind this trend. So this all brings us to a really crucial question. With such a strong trend and all this powerful momentum, the stock has had an incredible run, but is it getting close to a ceiling? Is it running out of room to climb, at least in the short term? To gauge this, analysts look at something called Bollinger Bands. The easiest way to imagine them is as guardrails on a price highway. They create a channel based on how volatile the stock has been, showing the typical upper and lower range where the stock has been trading. The report gives us a super precise number for Apple's position within these guardrails, 99.79. And that number, well, it's a telling figure that reveals just how close to the edge this stock is really trading. Think of it like a percentage. A value of 0 would mean the stock is at the bottom guardrail, 50 would be right in the middle, and 100 would be at the very top. So at 99.79, yeah, Apple's price is pushing right up against the absolute ceiling of its recent trading channel. So we've gathered our clues from the report. We've got the trend, we have the momentum, and we know the stock's position in its trading channel. Now, let's just put them all together and see what story they tell. So here's the story in 4 key points. First, there's a clear, powerful uptrend. No question. Second, the momentum is strong. That RSI speedometer is creeping into the red zone. Third, the price is actively testing the resistance at the very top of its trading range. And finally, it all comes back to our very first number. The stock is just shy of its highest price for the entire year.
So, by decoding this technical report, we've really uncovered a fascinating snapshot. The numbers tell a very clear story of a stock on a powerful, high momentum run that is now testing its absolute limits. This creates a point of real tension. It suggests that either the stock is due for a pullback as that momentum cools, or it's gathering energy for a significant breakout to new highs. The numbers have told us the what. But the what's next, well, that's where the story gets really interesting.